Here's the thing. I will. Hello, thank you for joining me. My name is Amber Moore. I am your host of Real Boys Talk. Today is, or actually this month, is Women's History. And as many of you know, women's history sometimes leaves out our masculine identified or masculine presenting women and the accomplishments that we've had. So Real Boys Talk started a series about 2 years ago called We Are History. It was a social media campaign. This year, we've taken the next step. We are interviewing some of these amazing masculine presenting women and finding out what they're doing. My first person that I am going to be interviewing is Aja LaStarr Owens. Welcome, Aja. I have known Aja for quite a while, so I want to share this amazing person with you. If you have never met her, guess what? You're losing out and you want to get to know her. Today is the opportunity. So Aja, we all have, or we are learning that you are running for Mayor of Jennings.
Yes,
Please
I am.
talk to us about how that came about and what your plans are. What is it? What's going on and how is it going? Notice a lot.
Thank you. I know. Thank you so much for having me. So for those who don't know, I live in Jennings in Missouri, which is in St. Louis. So it's like a municipality in St. Louis, and this is where I grew up. So for over 35 years, this is my community where I grew up. And when I moved here, my family, we were like the fourth Black family on the block. And so over the years, definitely things changed. So now it's a mostly Black community. But I noticed that over the last like 10 to 15 years, the community just declined a lot, especially in the side of the community that I grew up on. I noticed that, we had over 1,000, derelict properties, a lot of vacant lots. You start to see a lot of people coming in like dumping, the crime and violence was on a rise. And so I always think about when I grew up in that same community, it was very community oriented. It was a village. Everyone knew each other. Everybody looked out for each other. We kept our yards clean. As little kids, we used to love, it was an honor for us to, make sure we kept our neighbors' grass cut, shovel their snow. We earn our little money, and then all my friends, we would put our money together, go to the store and, sharing our resources. And so growing up with that type of mentality, that's what actually just kind of prompted me to live a life of service because of the way that I was brought up in that same community. So about 4 years ago, I actually ran for city council. And the person who I unseated, had been in that seat for about 15 years. And so that was my first, experience of like getting involved in local politics. And then I eventually got out of it and started working for a U.S. Congresswoman. And from that experience, I learned a lot more, did a lot of, a lot more research, networking and meeting a lot of people in the community. And so one of my sensitive areas is the senior community. And one of the things that I noticed is that even though I was no longer their city councilwoman, they still called on me for a lot of things, if they needed resources, if they, wanted to get in, if they needed help, just connecting and engaging with the people that are still their elected officials, they would always just call me for everything. And so around Christmas, they invited me to a little luncheon, and they were just talking about how, we feel like, you're the only one that represents for us. Nobody really comes to see about us. Nobody's concerned about us. And I've heard that a lot from them and other people in the community. For a long time, a lot of different neighbors tried to get me to run for mayor. And I just feel like for me, everything is all about the right timing. And, one of my friends said to me, she was like, you're young enough that you have some time that you can like, sit back and wait another term. But the senior community that you care so much about, they might not be around to see it. So that was really what prompted me in my spirit to go ahead and put my name in there and run for mayor.
How is it going right now? Like, I know you're probably all over the place, but how are you feeling about the race right now?
So I'll be honest with you, I'm a very transparent person, and, politics is not easy, especially if you're someone who is like, community oriented for real, like you really take a lot of stuff so personal. And I think that politics, and especially a campaign, is like anything that's a competition. So if you think about, if you're a sports, if you're in the sports and it's the championship game, only one team can win. And so sometimes the things that people would do to win, can be pretty extreme. But to me, it's all about, just remaining, grounded. A lot of people that support me, constantly remind me, just lead with integrity, lead with compassion. And so to be honest with you, it's challenging. it is very challenging, but at the same time, I think that God gives this, his toughest battle to his strongest warriors.
Absolutely. Do you feel that do you feel you also have that pressure of being a masculine presenting that's on top of the fact of you being a Black female and then of course you are representing an older group of people, that are in Jennings. You feel that you also now are a role model. You having to step into that role model for us as masculines as well.
I do. I think, again, representation is everything. And when I think about it, I represent so many different minority groups, being Black, being a woman, being a lesbian, being a masculine, those are so many different subgroups that like each group, is often discriminated against. So one of the things I was pretty proud about is when I became city council member, I feel like, to your point, it just kind of gave permission for other people to know that it's okay to go into this and also just be yourself, because I've never changed who I am. I don't, come in and like, let me go put on a blouse and a dress. Like, I just don't like doing it. So I'm not going to do that. And I can just be unapologetically me, because when it's about the work and you're doing the work, I think people start to lean in and really see that it's not about how you present yourself. It's about if you're keeping your word. It's about, do you show up? Are you accountable? I think those things start to shine through more so than the visual of how you look on the outside.
Tell us about what challenges did you have as city council? I apologize for not knowing that you were on city council. So tell us about that experience of you being on, like, what things did you make changes of as being on city council?
So one of the main things that I ran my campaign on is like community engagement. That's really important to me because I feel like a lot of the underlying problems are rooted in the disconnect with community. So because the thing is, if I don't know you, then I don't value you. So if I see somebody breaking into your house, I'm not going to say anything because one, it's not my business, and we don't have a connection. So community engagement was one of the strongest things that I ran on because it was a part of, again, getting to the root of why we show up the way we do. So one of the major things that I did was a lot of community resource events, block parties, community cleanups. The community cleanups were important to me because, again, we can't talk about what the problems are if we're not going to get in front of the problem ourselves. So I encourage our residents to get out here and like, hey, you feel like our neighborhood has declined. What are you doing? I make it to where there's no excuses. I'll go out and buy the supplies.
Exactly.
You just got to show up, so a lot of the changes that I was like personally committed to was the upkeep and the cleaning up of our city. So a lot of the derelict properties, a lot of the lots that were abandoned, a lot of times I would call in on my friends and family members, even the ones out of town, they might donate so that we can get supplies or that I might be able to pay people to come out and take care of those properties.
Awesome. Now I know you as the amazing flowing of words. You are very poetic. And so you have been a poet as well as an author. Are we still embracing that, or have we put that on the back burner for the political you? Or are they about to be intertwined going forward?
You know what? And I think I am so glad that you asked me that question because honestly, that is so much embedded in who I am. I can't get away from it. But I do think that, these last couple of years, I've been so immersed in just like community that a part of it is just who I am. So sometimes I think even the way I speak come out poetic. If I'm just speaking with people, I think it just sounds like a poem or a rap or something. So it's still in me. But recently, I have been more proactive about getting back into those communities because honestly, poetry was always my activism. I never saw myself in local politics. So I always used poetry and music and art as a way to express how I feel about things happening in the community. I think a lot of things changed for myself and a lot of my friends and colleagues in St. Louis after Mike Brown passed away or died or got killed. I think when that happened, there was a major shift. You've seen a lot of like artists and authors and, literary individuals, start to shift from poetry to politics, from hip hop to politics, from art to politics. I've seen a lot of people start running for local office. And I think we all just kind of like, started to use our voice in a different way. So I still do. I'm getting more into, going back to open mics. And I recently had a feature a couple of weeks ago. And so being able to have that platform to still do what I love doing, but then now also talk about, well, this is what I'm doing now. it was a great marriage.
Awesome, awesome. And I know that like you did a children's book. What inspired that children's?
So I've always wanted to do a children's book, but I didn't know that the first children's book would end up being what it is. So ironically, it's actually a poem that I wrote. It's a poem that I wrote in my very first book called Refuge. And the name of that poem is called Rock What You Got. So that poem was something that I would always do at the end of a set. Like if I went to an open mic, I would always end with that poem, Rock What You Got, which is all about just loving to embrace who you are. We are unique. We're all different. We show up different, but to just love and embrace who you are. So that ended up becoming my children's book. I actually have 6 children's books now. And me and my sister, I've written 13 books. I got 13 books published, but I have 6 children's books. And then me and my sister, we also wrote a couple of books together. And my brother, who passed away suddenly about a year ago, he wrote a book too, and we got that published too. So we're just family of poets and authors.
There you go. There you go. What better way to be able to show people generational wealth? And so you've done these amazing books. So we're gonna talk on a very touchy subject. Because as you know, in this country, for some reason, people are banning books. Banning books that are unnecessary to be banned. Books about Rosa Parks, books about Martin Luther King, books about Marcus Garvey. I mean, they're just banning books about us, basically as African Americans and our history. How do you feel? I mean, I know you have your political. You are, you're going to be the mayor, and I'm putting it out there. You're going to be the mayor. And I'll be proud to say I know the mayor. I know the mayor. But how do you feel about this, that they're wanting to ban books for you being so big in literary and in literature and also being a writer, of course? How do you feel about that?
I do not agree with that. I think that books, like music, are timeless. They are classic. Whether it's something that is positive, negative, because the thing about it is I look at it the same way I look at like poetry, art, music. It appeals to everybody, but in different ways. And so for me, being a poet, I can go out and speak, but what I say might not resonate with everybody, but it's going to resonate with somebody. But then the next person that get up on the mic, what they say might not resonate with everybody, but they're going to touch at least somebody. And so even when you think about with books and literature, first of all, it's history, and that's something that lives on forever and ever and ever. Like even when we gone, books and the history that's within these books, they are there. I mean, and the thing about it is, as people, we should be able to have the option to, learn from all parts of our history, whether we agree with it, whether we don't agree with it, whether we want to challenge it. But we grab from history, we grab from literature, from words, and I don't think that anybody's book should be banned. So even if I don't agree with it, if it's that controversial, I still think that it's a place for it, even if it's just for research. Even if it's to contradict it, maybe you want to, take from that and create something different. But I don't think that anybody's book, especially books in our community, because we can't erase history, and that's where you find, information in books. So I don't think any book should be banned ever.
Do you feel that politics or the political arena is changing in terms of the direction in which it's focused on? I see that we're now focused on drag queens reading to children. We're not focused on poverty. We're not focused on that what was middle class is now, the poor working class. We're making it. We barely making it. We stretching everything. Do you feel, and this is outside of, I know, running for an office, do you feel that our politicians are no longer focused on us, more on what's going in their wallet?
You said what's going in their wallet?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that at the end of the day, honestly, I think a lot of times good politicians start off, with the goodest of intentions, like with the best intentions. And somewhere along the way, whether it's an opportunity, a development, money, title, status, power, something shifts you and it makes you kind of like sway. I think it happens to a lot, even the good politicians. I think you get tempted, with some of the opportunities that are, before you. So, I definitely think that, it's changed so much. And I think that's why it's important for the people who are really like motivated by the people and motivated by community to get in. You know, it's important, and not only that we get in, but that we get in and remain grounded and focus on what brought you there, because it's so easy to get enticed and you know and go in a whole different direction, you know, once you get in. And I definitely seen that when I was on the city council. You know, it was very difficult to stay focused when there are so many other things. I mean, I've had people, you know, want to sit down and have meetings with me, and I'm thinking that we're about to talk about one thing and then it shifts to something else. And so for me, it's definitely always an opportunity to keep your ground and to stay humble and stay having integrity, because even if you think you're getting away with something, it's always going to come up, you know, somehow or another. Because I don't know if you follow what happened in St. Louis like about a year ago, but you know, there were some politicians here that, you know, were doing some underhanded things, and now they're about to go to jail. You know, so sometimes you think you're getting away with stuff, but you know, in my opinion, a lot of times when people want to send you away for, you know, for something, they'll let you think you're getting away with it, but then when they hit you with it, you know you're going away.
Of course, of course. And so, you know, you are, if you don't know, you are a mentor to those. They might not ever say it to you. Okay. We have learned, you and I, we know that we walk out our homes, you hear your mother saying, all right, you know, don't you act up because you represent me. Well, guess
Right.
what? I know you know that when you walk out your home, you representing a lot of hats and a lot of people. And so who mentors you? Who is your inspiration to keep you getting up, fighting every single day?
Wow. I mean, thank you for that question. And really, it's so many people. I have a very close relationship with my sister and with my mother. So I'm very, and before my brother passed, you know, my brother, you know, I'm very fortunate to come from a loving, supportive family. You know, and honestly speaking, even if they didn't agree with my lifestyle, you know, I think they've always just respected me, the person. And that's very important, because at the end of the day, I know that there are some people who, you know, their families, they don't understand it or they don't agree with it. And so they reject their family member, you know? And so for me, I would start off by saying, you know, my mother, you know, my sister, before my aunt passed recently, you know, my aunt, it's just so, I have so many loving, supporting family members first. I would definitely start there, but then I have some good friends. Even, you know, some of my friends that I met when I was in college, I went to Xavier in New Orleans, got to shout out Xavier. But some of my good friends, I mean, you know, they show up at the right time. If it's just not like, you know, just a text to say, I see you, you know, keep going, keep moving. You know, and a lot of times when I do things like this, like running for office, or if I'm doing a, you know, a fundraiser or anything like that, you know, my friends from all across the country just, they pour into it, you know, whether it's with a good word or a donation, things like that. I mean, I have like good colleagues in the community. Like, I mean, if I start naming people, I feel bad because I'll forget people. Just a village, you know, I just have a village of support.
You know, and I want you to know that that's a rarity, as we both know. It's
Mhm.
rare that we as masculine presenting have that. First of all, to have that family support is already
Yes,
amazing. So congratulations,
yes.
and amazing, you know, and tell your mom I said thank you.
I will.
Because she's given us an amazing person, you know, and I say this, you know, yes, you'll be the mayor. And just stepping out there to take that, her giving you that confidence, know that you can accomplish and do everything that you really put your mind to it, is what some of us don't have. So I congratulate you and commend you for having that as well. Um,
Thank you, thank you.
so now that we've looked at that business side of you, I'm gonna ask the personal question of how is all of this affecting, if you're in a relationship or wanting to be in a relationship, how is all of what you're doing now, how is that affecting that opportunity?
Well, you know, I think that, to be honest with you, it is challenging, it's difficult. But I think even before this, it would be challenging and difficult dealing with me, because I'm not the best when it comes to time management. And I think that because I'm so much about community, a lot of times my personal life is affected by that. A lot of times I'm not showing up for my partner or for my family members in the ways that I need to, because if somebody called me right now and they need, you know, a ride to the store or a Pampers for their baby or whatever, I'm going. Like, my instinct is always to go and help people, but sometimes I think that I end up neglecting the people who, you know, also want that time and attention. So it's challenging.
And is it hard? Is it also challenging for you to find your own space? your own quiet moment in time at, because I mean, running for mayor, I don't know. I would assume running for mayor is almost like you 24 hours because you go to bed going,
Yeah.
okay, I
Right,
gotta do, you know.
right.
So are you able to even carve out time for yourself?
I mean, it is challenging, and I think a part of that is because like I rejected myself. Like I reject me time, so I think that it would be easy if I just like, accepted it. But I think for me personally, in my mind, I'm always thinking that somebody needs help. Somebody needs something, somebody, I need to be available. And my sister always tell me, you have the right to be unavailable. But in my mind, I'm like, somebody always needs something. So I think it's a challenge for me because I don't just embrace it.
So lastly, before we close out, what words do you have for our masculine presenting going forward? Like, what would you like to let them know that we need to do, we need to be doing?
I think the first thing you need to understand is one, who you are is so magical and so dope and so unique. And I think that people wish that they could be you. Like, I think that a lot of times people, they might treat us a certain way because maybe it's something in them that wish they could be outwardly confident and sure of who they are. Because it's not easy to just embrace and accept who you are. But my words of advice to you is one, like own who you are, love who you are, and walk in your confidence, because at the end of the day, like, again, we are all created uniquely who we are. And sometimes it takes us going through different things in life to really find like that comfort space, like, like, okay, I'm comfortable here. Because even if you're a masculine centered person or whatever, you might not necessarily feel like, oh, I want to put on a bow tie and I want to wear my hair like this, or, dress like this. Who you are, like, be okay with who you choose to show up as. And also understand that, like, as we go through and navigate life, it changes. Like today I might feel like this and tomorrow I might feel like this, but at the end of the day, if you consider yourself whatever type of masculine presenting person, be okay with that, and other people will just catch up.
Awesome. So before we go, tell the people what you need in your campaign. From what do you need from us, and how we can find you, and how can we get involved? How can we just support you?
So here's the thing. I know that when it comes to campaigns, any type of political campaign, the number one thing you need is money, right? But I won't say money first. I will say what I need is affirmations. I need prayer. I need support. I need, like, those random messages of like, you got this, because when I get those, that's what keep me going, because it's usually at a time where I'm like, oh my God, these people got me messed up, but then I'll get that message, or I get that reminder of my why. So to me, the main thing I need is like just positive words of encouragement all the time. And honestly, even after the campaign, because whether I win or whether I don't win, I think just having that, constant support of, you are amazing, you did a great thing, you try for your people, or if I do win, it's one of those things of like, hey, now this is a whole nother situation that you have to be prepared for. So to me, that's the number one thing. But then also, of course, donations are always needed, because we need to, make sure we constantly getting yard signs and, billboards and promotional material and things like that. So
yes. Okay. So on Facebook, how do we find you?
on Facebook, I'm Aja, that's Aja LaStarr Owens. And then on Instagram, I'm Be The Change Now, STL. But then I also do have Aja for the number 4 mayor, Instagram. I have a Facebook page. I have a website, www.aja4mayor.com. But yeah, you can look me up in, AJA. Anything should come up. Yeah.
All right. I appreciate you giving us the time. Let us know
Appreciate you
who
for
you
having me.
are, and let us know what you need from us, and let us, and for us to let you know you have our support. As masculines, you have our support. I know you're gonna be the mayor. You're gonna be an amazing mayor. And I know this is not your stopping point. I know you got more to do, and you're gonna make like I said, you're gonna make major contributions to the political world and to your community.
Thank you.
What I'd like to say, I tell everybody, when it comes to the conversations that we have with Real Boys Talk, take what you've heard about Aja, take it offline, tell somebody else about her, and definitely keep this going. You can hear that. You can also, you will be this particular conversation will be on, of course, podcast that you all are listening to now, as well as it will be on the website realboystalk.org. So again, take it offline, and definitely we will be doing this again. This is a conversation. We're going to be doing a series throughout the month of March, because this is Women's Month, and this is about We Are History. Thank you all for giving me your time, and we will see you again next Friday.
Thank you.